Hey, Joseph, welcome to the Z Learning Podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Zev, great to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. And you are the direct maestro, a brand strategist, and marketer of a veteran marketer, I would say. And
Yes,
and
that makes me feel old, but yes.
no, you look great for your age. But I wanted to have you on. Let's talk a little bit about marketing strategy, the components of a marketing campaign. I think a lot of my listeners struggle with wanting it can get so overwhelming. SEO, social media, Google ads, whatever. There's so many channels and platforms today, and sometimes business owners don't know where to begin or what to do first or what things cost, what's the timeline. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this.
Sure thing. Well, you started with the direct maestro, so I'll build off of that. A year ago, I started my career at an agency and went to client side. I was doing a lot of traditional direct response marketing, so much so that the people I was working with would just say, "Hey, that's the direct maestro," because basically I just knew how to I knew how to make that channel sing and drive revenue, millions and millions of dollars of revenue for some of the companies I was working with back in the day. And I just like it, so I keep it. It's a conversation starter. Over the years, evolved into various other forms of marketing because I never stopped learning. And the internet evolved. I jumped on all the digital marketing tools. Social media evolved. I jumped into that. Apps and that space. Now we're in the AI world, so involved in some things in that space. And I guess the common denominator is constantly trying to help companies grow, building businesses. Customer acquisition is kind of my sweet spot. Helping put a name on the map. So if you go to my website, I use this tagline, uh, making helping you go from unknown to well known.
That is great. I love that. And I think direct response, the OGs who are in the direct response trenches, I think that going to digital and what is a natural progression, because I think direct response, people think it's digital, but it's not. Digital response is where like direct mail and things like that, where would say like, mail back a thing to get more information. That was really where data-driven marketing in a more sophisticated sense and quantitative marketing, I think, really started. I mean, I'm sure there were methods before, but there was a lot more emphasis on like how can we get more opens or responses, and now it's just evolved into becoming like that on steroids with clicks and opens and remarketing and tracking. And
Yeah, to me, all those tools are basically direct response marketing on steroids, right? So if you understand how to use the tools and you understand what you're looking at, the data, the analytics, Google, AdWords, for example, is like a direct marketer's dream because you can target someone, based on what they're searching for. That's true direct response, right? Like this
absolutely.
person's in the market for product X, I'm going to show them product, advertisement, they're going to click and go to a website and ultimately buy. I mean, that's, the goal.
Totally. Yeah. So that's a great segue for what I want to ask you next. Obviously at ZEV Media, we're a full service marketing agency, but we do a lot with growth marketing, driving conversions, mainly through paid ads. And I'm doing more and more just paid media. Of course, we still offer website SEO and other things, but I'm curious for you, for a business owner, where should when is it the right time to hire a marketing agency? Because obviously some businesses, they have different budgets. Maybe they have a website, or someone in-house could do a very basic site. Maybe they're even hacking some SEO and social media a little bit on their own. But when's the time to really call in the professionals?
Great question. And something I think about a lot and help founders and CEOs work through as well. So the first metric for me would be, or first barrier for me would be, do you have a marketing budget? And are you willing to invest in a marketing function and a marketing campaign And that doesn't mean you have to have millions of dollars, but you need to have something allocated to marketing. And that's going to cover the expense of hiring an agency, a consultant, or, part-time, full-time employee, and whatever media they are going to recommend, right? So there's no sense in hiring someone if you're going to not want to do what they recommend or
Right.
implement the strategies and ideas. I've been there, right? Someone will hire you for a project and everything you put in front of them, no, I don't want to spend the money. I don't have the money. You can't grow without spending a little bit of money. You have to invest in your business. You have to make sure, you have to agree with the marketing team, and the founders and the people driving the business should all be on the same page. Just because you can run Facebook ads or Google ads doesn't mean it's the right thing to do for your business, but you should all get on the same page, figure out what is the right strategy, what are the right tools and tactics, and then agree that we're going to spend X and just do it. Like, don't debate it after that.
Right. Yeah. Don't second guess. Because, and I think just like any business owner who's not in marketing can understand that you got to factor in your costs. And I think the same thing when you're investing in your business, investing in yourself. First of all, basically you have to look at not only what you're paying the consultants, or investing into the strategy, but also in terms of ad spend, in terms of anyone who might be brought on for labor, either whether it's creating graphics or the creative end,
Yep.
production, video. It's not just the management fee or the consulting, but also the production or creative content creation, as well as the ad spend and anything you're putting into distribution to buy, whether it's buying ad space on Google or Facebook, or buying airtime, traditional media. It's the same thing. And I think that a lot of the time, I don't know about you, but a lot of people come to me very prematurely, which is fine, because I like to still give marketing strategy, no charge, just to help, on a quick call, direct them to where, maybe help them, give them some guidance. But a lot of people come a little bit prematurely, or they'll look at a proposal prematurely, maybe saying that their business is doing a lot better than it really is, because they want to get
And their heads is always doing better, for sure.
exactly. Then their accountant or their bookkeeper looks at the numbers. It's like, no, okay, you're making you're getting some sales, but you're not, you don't have a marketing budget yet. And maybe they didn't even know what marketing costs. So maybe you could walk us through, and so it's obviously, just want to emphasize to the audience, it's not for that guy or gal who just started a business yesterday and needs some marketing help. It's a business that already does sales, that has revenue, and now has the budget to market. When do you think is the right stage to go from maybe like your basic online presence? Like, let's say you already have a domain, like you already have a website, you're already ranked for certain keywords on Google. When do you think is the next step to doing more like growth marketing tactics?
Sure. And I just want to add one thought to my previous comment. Whatever you do, whatever you agree with your team, you should be analyzing it and optimizing it from that point forward. So, there's science behind the marketing here too. In terms of like when you should start investing in marketing, it's going to be different by every business. And, to your point about, the person that just started a company, they need marketing. They just can't afford it, or they're just maybe not ready for a full blown marketing campaign. And that's why you see a lot of times businesses, the founders will, hack together in the best way possible, website or some presentation materials, all good intent, they're going to make do with what they have, and you got to bootstrap it the best you can. I think once you're at a point, the company either has revenue or has got a clear path to revenue, right? You can start investing in marketing. And when you invest, you don't go all in at once. You start testing and learning what's going to work. Growth marketing, there are plenty of tactics, right? So you can start analyzing which tactics to use and how to use them, when to use them, and so on, but measure every single step. The key is having a budget, and the key is being willing to invest in that and see it all the way through. And that may mean, okay, you run it for a couple of weeks and you realize, oh, this isn't working. Let's, reevaluate, try something else, or like change things and move forward from there. But sitting and hoping something's going to work without actually doing it is not a marketing plan.
That is
Uh,
definitely no. Spraying and praying, or just praying, definitely not a good marketing plan. I wanted to ask you that a lot of times people don't know where to allocate their budget. I think one difference between like traditional versus today's marketing is that it used to be that real proper marketing and advertising was kind of, I think, for bigger budget companies only, and they had to put so much thought and effort before they released anything, and they had to like really hope it works, because whereas now, like I tell a lot of people, it's not that you should be expecting ROI on day one. What you should be expecting is getting valuable customer insights and data so that you can then optimize it. And the less, I mean, obviously, the more data you start with, the less trial and error, the faster things happen, especially if you have a bigger budget. But what you said about having a budget is important, because you need to have enough flexibility in your budget that you can run some tests. And the tests will bear you the answers you're seeking faster, obviously, and be more efficient if you have more budget, more room to test more things more quickly.
For sure. One thing I usually try to do when I'm working with a company is, we create a marketing plan and a marketing budget. And then within that budget, there is a testing budget. So use whatever number you want, you carve out a piece. And this is our test budget. And we know that a lot of this stuff may not work, but we're going to test and try to learn something new so that we can add to our overall marketing plan, right? So if you've been working in marketing, if you've been running your business and marketing your business, and for example, Google Ads works, so you're going to, okay, our Google ad budget is X, but you've never done Facebook ads. I'm just using those two, but there's, like you said, tons of other options. You want to test it, right? Like, what are you waiting for? You're not going to know until you try it. The only other thing I would add to this conversation about like analyzing these media platforms is that don't just look at the top of the funnel, right? If you're a lead gen or site traffic or downloads, you got to look all the way through that funnel, because what may seem like a great deal at the front end is actually not so great at the back end. And I can explain that so you click a Facebook ad, you get a lead, it's, let's call it $1, but none of them convert. So it looks great, right? $1 lead, yay, I'm happy. And my Google leads, let's just say, are $5. Oh, that's 5 times more expensive, but they're generating 10 times more revenue, or in this case, 100 times more revenue. You would never, if you just looked at the top of the funnel, you wouldn't have any idea what's actually working for you. Or you'd be making some decisions that at the end of the day were not to your best interest. So, a good marketing partner will help you analyze that. If you're in a lifetime value business where you have recurring revenue and, ongoing revenue, you're going to want to look at that. So there's lots of
Right, you
details.
may have term loss to acquire, but then if the lifetime value makes up for it because it's frequent repurchases, or they buy a lot more over time. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the old businesses, and let's use a supermarket, they may lose money on that first sale, but once they got you buying their product, you're a customer for life, right? So that's loss leaders. That's why they call them loss leaders. So,
right. Yeah, those are all really good points, and that's why you need to have the data at your fingertips. And I think it's incredibly important to have a marketing partner that helps you guide your strategy before you go into all this implementation. So you have a plan, a brand voice, and a character, and a lot of stuff that you work on. But you also need to have someone who is not like that shady car mechanic that never lets you in under the hood. You need someone who I mean, not all clients are as interested, of course, but I try at least to really, I'll show them how to do it. I don't care,
I've given people, full blown plans, because I know that at the end of the day, they may be able to implement it, but unless they know what they're doing throughout the details, and they'll call me back anyway.
Yeah, and transparency is key. I think honestly, the more you show them, not only do you better educate them, and they don't feel like, they have more trust, they see what you're really doing, and they understand what's working and what's not and why, which makes them a better client, but also I think they have even greater appreciation for what you do, and more of a, like, I'm glad they're doing it, because this is, I don't want to do that.
I've actually sat side by side with clients and, took them step by step through what I was doing so that they could do it themselves, in 3 months, whatever time period they want to take it over. Yeah, it's not set it and forget it. That's not the way you want to do this.
No, it's constant optimization, especially these days. One question before we close out, and maybe I think it's a hot question. They say there's a golden rule in marketing advertising. Obviously, every company, industry, it's all highly different and nuanced, like depending on your industry, your size of company and budget. There's no one size fits all. That's why you need to work with somebody, a consultant who understands your business. But they say best practice is 7 to 8% of gross total revenue should go to marketing. Is that outdated, or what do you think? Let's say the business is about $500,000 revenue to 2 million. Like, we're still talking about pretty small, mid-sized business here.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of nuance to that based on size of company, product, service that they're selling. I'll tell you a short story that I'll never forget. So I had lunch. This is probably 20 something years ago with a partner of ours at the time, and I asked him, "What's your marketing budget?" He said, "My marketing budget is when every dollar I get back, if I get $2 or more, that's my marketing budget. Like, I don't have a set dollar amount." It's like, if I can get more money from every dollar I spend, then I'm going to keep spending money. So, that was his business, right? Like, spend $1, get 2, 4, 5, whatever it was. Why stop? Like, his point was, why would you limit your marketing spend if you're driving return?
Right.
So a lot of companies are very structured, and I get it. There's a place for that. But if you can return more than you spend, why would you not? Again, you have to look at that return based on, not just the front of the funnel, but the bottom of the funnel. That's kind of been my mentality. If I can drive more dollars back to you than you're spending, keep doing.
Yeah, that's how we are too. And I would say that once they start seeing those returns, they're usually more than happy to invest more, or start other campaigns or go into some more experimental stuff. And I mean, one thing I'll say though, and I'm sure you know this, but like a lot of people will say, first of all, not everyone loves the question, "What's your budget?" Some people say,
No, they hate it because it puts them in the corner.
Working with this guy because they asked me that. So I don't always ask that bluntly. But I'm curious for feelings on that. But also, when people say things like, if it works, I'll invest. I think a better attitude is, if it works, or if I see it working for me, and we have to define what works means and the right goals and metrics and within the time frame, then I'll invest more. But you can't just be like, what is your attitude? What is your feeling about solely performance based? I get why that works for lead gen and sales, but do you think that works for marketing strategy and advertising? Why or why not?
So the first question, what's your marketing budget? If someone's not willing to answer that question, that probably means they're not ready to truly market, right? If you know what your budget, if you have a budget, right? Let's just use the scenario that you actually have a budget. You should feel free to talk about it, and you should, with someone you trust, obviously, and then, work with that. If someone's not going to answer that question, it's also a signal to me personally that they're probably not going to be a great fit, right?
Because great, fantastic insight. Thank you. Because I think maybe I will be a little more blunt about that now from now on. Thank you for sharing that insight.
Yes, someone recently told me, they gave me a number for their business. They said, if someone's not willing to spend X every month, with a minimum of a 6-month commitment, then they're not a client for them. So everyone's got to figure out what that means for them, for their personal company, and how it works. But
and also the timing of when you ask it, and there's
it's not the first date kind of question.
Yeah.
But you want, when you get to a point where it feels right. In terms of the second question, which was allocating the budget.
So yeah, my second question, sorry, I crammed them into one, was is there room, or what's your personal take? Because everybody has different perspectives on this. on the model of performance-based model.
Performance.
I want to say that without biasing the witness here, my personal take is that I get why it works for strictly lead gen, or even though they usually don't do just performance-based, there's usually at least a base plus commission or sales. I get it. But for marketing strategy and advertising, do you think that model works for us? Because a lot of people say, well, let's do rev share. Let's do, you
Everyone-
make me money, then I'll pay you money.
Everyone loves the rev share model because it takes the risk off of them and puts it all on you.
Exactly.
That so it depends on the type of business, right? If you're the kind of business that is a pure, direct response kind of model where, dollar, you spend $1, sell $2, $5, then, performance metrics is what you're going to use. If you're more of a brand and trying to build something much bigger than just a transactional business, in that case, you're going to need to invest in, branding, positioning, messaging, and doing all those things, which take a lot more time, a lot more money.
A lot of thought, collaboration,
a lot of
not
thought.
to mention the labor of people creating content and things like that.
Right. No brand was built overnight, right? And most brands evolve over time, and I'm not talking, when I say brand, I'm not talking about just a logo, I'm talking about what that brand stands for and what it means and how they represent themselves.
Yep.
And so, if that's the business you're trying to build, and I've asked that question, are you trying to build a brand or are you trying to just sell things? And if you're just trying to sell things, then a different approach to how you market. If you're trying to build a brand and try to build something much bigger that over time becomes, something well known, then it's a different set of tactics and strategies that you're going to put in place.
Right. And
there's overlap.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that point, just because a lot of people are like, what's the point of marketing? Does it bring sales? To your point, if you invest in the long term of building the brand, you will get way more sales, way more easily later, but you have to be willing to,
Right. And not every business wants to build a brand, and that's fine. You don't have, you don't have to be a big brand. But if that's one of your goals, then yeah, you want to spend time doing that. And the tactics will overlap. It's just how you use those tactics, when you use those tactics, the strategies and how you implement them and so forth. But yeah, it's not one size fits all. And one last thought, just because your nearest competitor is doing something doesn't mean you should do that, right? That's not marketing either. Copycat marketing is not the way you build a business.
Absolutely. That's why, yes, we look at the competitors, but do not ever fall into the trap of like, if you literally do what your competitors do, you defeat the entire purpose of marketing. The entire purpose of marketing, I think, is to distinguish yourself, set yourself apart, and grab the attention. And you can only of your target market, you can only do that by being distinct, not by being like everyone else. That's the exact opposite of what you want to do. I would also say that in the growth marketing world, so I definitely think if someone has a starter budget and you could do like a minimum, that's something to work with. But I do believe that there's a lot of work involved, especially if your business is not a huge, well-known brand, and there's risk, like especially if you don't even have numbers, if you haven't done previous campaigns or you haven't released this product yet, it's a little bit shaky. And there's a lot of other moving pieces that the sale is dependent on, not just the ad. There's like a process. Maybe they have to talk to a sales team. There's
the operations and infrastructure are super important. Yeah.
Right. And you still obviously need money to invest on the platforms to get your ads or your content to show. And the people putting all the work together, doing all the due diligence of creating the campaigns and the A/B testing. I mean, that's still time and work. If it doesn't sell, that's not necessarily on them. But I would also say that, you could do it in a very piecemeal way. And once you start getting returns, you can invest later. But when people ask me that rev share question, I'm like, and I used to say no, but now I say no. Actually, I'm very confident we could get you that ROI for, as long as you give them, as long as you spend on the ad budget, even if you don't pay us. But here's what you got to do first. I need to know your sales numbers over the past few months. I need to know what your past campaigns did. And I need to know exactly how you're tracking the sale, like how, we're gonna make sure that it's tracked back exactly in the funnel so that we can prove everything we brought in. And pretty much most of the business leads that I talked to at this point in my career are not there yet. Like, if you're Coca-Cola, sure, I'll do it for free, just you pay for the ad spends, but most people I'm talking to, you're not Coca-Cola, you're not Revlon. Sorry, but I'm gonna have to obviously get paid for my work and time. And
to
then
do the rev share effectively, you need systems in place.
yeah, and it's still an incentive because I know if I bring home the returns, you're gonna invest more and you're gonna do more with us and keep us longer. So really a pleasure, Joseph. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your marketing business owner experience with us. I'm gonna obviously put everything in the show notes, but where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Sure thing. Thanks again for having me, Zev. Best place to reach me, you can go to my website, josefkatz.com, or on LinkedIn, Josef Katz. And yeah, look forward to connecting with folks and, talking marketing or business. Anything around this is always fun for me.
This has been great. Thank you. And I think we're going to have to give the direct Maestro an encore. You'll definitely have to.
Anytime you want. Well, we'll talk. We could talk true direct marketing at some point.
Thank you.